Hi again. I hope that you're starting to develop an appreciation of just the process of looking, because it can feel very good, um, and also you're starting to recognize these gates, and that I feel like if we can articulate this moment of the deepening of our looking and our awareness, then this is part of what has to happen as poets. Sometimes you'll only have a half an hour to write poems in the evening, and you have to go to that place quickly. So you have to recognize, if it's happening to you, and also if you're in a strange environment and you start to have these thoughts, it's just very good as a poet to know what's happening. So I want to read two other poems real quick. Um, One of them is by France Wright. It's at the end of your booklet there. September Sunflower. So this is an alternate kind of looking. Like, what kind of looking is here? It seems like a more spiritual vision that he has. He seems to be perhaps in some kind of a bed or a hospital bed, maybe in rehabilitation, um, and he's looking at a sunflower. But notice the light that comes in, and then the vision of the sunflower gets conflated with light, and so what he sees seems like more transcendent than the direct object, becomes something different. September Sunflower. Pale yellow light filled the room. I'd been lying in bed for a month one afternoon. Yellow light filled the room. Don't let them get inside your eyes, my evil said, and lay their eggs there. Light filled the room. Light, I assumed, coming in through the window. But no, more a feeling, though light too. A healing. And I saw again September sunflower, petals, intense yellow flames, child's drawing of the sun, 10 feet tall, blonde face, all pupil, and loved again, and walked again. So in this case, what is being seen is not entirely clear. There's all this light, and there's this self-doubt, this wondering about my evil. And then there's a vision of this sunflower, which might or might not be literal. I mean, I imagine it's somebody who's rehabilitating, and they're in bed, and then they see this maybe as a gift somebody has brought a sunflower. Or it might be a memory of a sunflower with its 10 feet tall blonde face. It seems like a memory because you're not going to bring that into a hospital room. And then there's a kind of resurgence, this light which seems external all of a sudden becomes internal. So this feels like, to me, definitely an example of the Anne Carson sense of when you look, the thing becomes poured back and forth. Like there's a light, but then there's an inner light. So the external light and the internal light start to overlap. So this is an alternate kind of looking as well. Now, if I could point you to the last poem that I'll look at, and this will lead to a prompt as well, will be Louise Gluck's Copper Beech. So this is the fourth poem in your booklet. Copper beech is a type of tree. So, Copper Beech. Why is the earth angry at heaven? If there's a question, is there an answer? On Dana Street, a copper beech, immense like the tree of my childhood, but with a violence I wasn't ready to see then. I was a child like a pointed finger, then an explosion of darkness. My mother could do nothing with me. Interesting, isn't it, the language she used? The copper beech rearing like an animal. Frustration, love, the terrible wounded pride of rebuffed love. I remember rising from the earth to heaven. I remember I had two parents, one harsh, one invisible. Poor clouded father, who worked only in gold and silver. So we don't have time for too much analysis here, but let me just say that the thing being looked at here seems to be a beech tree. And so perhaps the speaker of the poem, the Louise Gluck character, sees a beech tree which reminds her of a tree from her childhood. And then that reminds her of all of these kind of like wounds, like these psychological wounds and pains of her childhood, which reminds her about her parents, and these stories of her parents kind of flood in. So in this case, the looking is a memory. She remembers something, and then she looks at that. So looking is just about bringing your attention to something. So in this case, it's a memory of a tree which leads to deeper, the symbol of the tree leads to deeper connections, psychological about her childhood. So your next prompt, and we'll end the workshop here as well. Your next prompt is for 1 minute, first brainstorm and try to think of some symbol or object from your childhood. Something which reminds you, brings you back deep into your childhood. Maybe it doesn't exist anymore. Maybe it's a grandparent who's not alive anymore. Maybe it's a little object, a gift that you got that's now lost. Maybe it's a watch that your father used to wear. Just something from your childhood, an object. So first, spend a minute trying to brainstorm and think of an object like that. And then, once you have that object, for 5 minutes, look in all the senses we've been talking about this kind of various ways of looking. Look at the memory of that object. So write about that object and just allow your mind to go wherever it needs to go. So I'm going to end there. Thank you very much. I've enjoyed talking about the Underglimmer with you, and I hope that you get some good poems out of this, and I hope that that you write lots of great poems, and you look and go to that nighttime reverie place as often as possible. So thank you very much. Bye-bye.